Lola lay on the hospital bed, her face pale and her breath shallow. The rhythmic beeping of the machines around her felt like a countdown, a reminder of the precarious balance between life and death. She was about to give birth, but complications had arisen, putting both her and her unborn child in grave danger. In the sterile room, Daniel, her husband, stood anxiously beside her, holding her hand tightly. His mother, Margaret, hovered nearby, her expression a mix of concern and determination. The doctor entered, his face grave, and the air thickened with unspoken fears. "Daniel," the doctor began, his voice steady but heavy, "we have a critical situation. We need to make a decision. We can only save one, your wife or your baby." Daniel's heart raced. "What do you mean? Can't you save them both?" The doctor shook his head. "I'm afraid not. Lola is losing blood rapidly, and the baby is in distress. You need to choose." Margaret stepped forward, her voice resolute. "Daniel, you have to think about the future. A good mother would sacrifice her life for her child. We must save the baby." Lola, unconscious but somehow aware of the conversation, felt a pang of betrayal. She wanted to scream, to tell them that she was more than just a vessel for her child. But her body was unresponsive, trapped in a haze of pain and fear. Daniel's eyes darted between the doctor and his mother. "But she's my wife. How can I choose?" "Daniel, listen to your mother," Margaret urged, her voice sharp. "This is about survival. The baby has a whole life ahead of him. Lola has already lived hers." Tears streamed down Daniel's face as he looked at Lola, her fragile form lying helplessly before him. "I can't do this," he whispered, his voice breaking. "Do it for the baby," Margaret insisted, her tone unyielding. "You'll regret it if you don't." Lola's heart shattered as she listened to the words of the woman she had once considered family. The thought of her husband choosing their child over her was unbearable. Against all odds, the medical team managed to stabilize both Lola and the baby. When Lola finally regained consciousness, she was greeted by the sound of her newborn's cries. But the joy was overshadowed by the memory of that fateful conversation. "Daniel," she croaked, her voice hoarse. He rushed to her side, relief flooding his features. "Lola. You're awake. Thank God." Did you choose?" she asked, her heart racing. He hesitated, guilt washing over him. "We saved both of you." "But, my mother." Lola's heart sank. "What did she say?" "She said a good mother would sacrifice everything for her child," he admitted, tears glistening in his eyes. Lola felt a deep ache in her chest. "And you agreed?" "I didn't want to lose you," he said, his voice trembling. "But I didn't know what to do." Years later, time passed, and Lola and Daniel built a life together, raising their child, whom they named Ethan. But the shadow of that day lingered, especially in Lola's heart. She had survived, but the emotional scars ran deep. One evening, Daniel received a call about his mother. "Lola, it's my mom. She's in the hospital, and they say she needs immediate surgery. It's serious." Lola's heart raced. "What do they need?" "They need money for the operation." "We have to use our joint account," he said, desperation creeping into his voice. Lola's stomach twisted. The money had been set aside for their dream home and a business. "Daniel, that money, it's everything we've worked for. We can't just give it away." "Lola, she's my mother. I can't just let her die." His voice rose, filled with panic. "A good woman would sacrifice her life for her own child," she replied, her voice steady but laced with emotion. "We've sacrificed so much already. What about our dreams?" Daniel's face fell, realization dawning. "You're right. But she's my mother. And I am your wife," Lola said firmly. "We can't sacrifice our future for the past." The tension between them grew, and Daniel's frustration boiled over. "You don't understand. You weren't there when I had to choose." Lola's eyes flashed with hurt. "And you weren't there when I lay unconscious, knowing that you could choose to save me but didn't. You let your mother's words dictate your choices." Lola, please, he pleaded, his voice breaking. I love you. I just want to do the right thing. The right thing is to protect our family, she replied, her heart aching. We can't keep sacrificing ourselves for others. We have to stand together. After a long silence, Daniel took a deep breath. I don't want to lose you again. I'll talk to the doctors. We'll find another way. Lola nodded, tears in her eyes. We'll figure this out together. Our family matters most. As they embraced, the weight of their past decisions began to lift. They had faced the darkness together, and now they would face the future united, determined to protect their dreams and their love. In that moment, Lola realized that true sacrifice wasn't about giving up one's life for another, it was about choosing to live for each other, to fight for their family, and to create a future where love triumphed over fear.